everyone, my name is Akos from the re.Planted urban farm based out of the Ottawa Valley in Ontario, Canada. And in today's video, I'm going to take you through the process from 2 months ago, beginning to end, of how we turned our weedy, grassy lawn into a market garden. So essentially that process started back in February. It took us a while to decide what exactly we wanted to do with this space. We decided in February that we wanted to convert this corner of our property into a market garden. So we had to take a couple steps before we did that. And that was first getting rid of these spruce trees. They were massive spruce trees. In fact, we didn't even realize how much space they were taking until we got rid of them. And because we just don't have that much of a budget in terms of monetary resources, we did it ourselves. We got a neighbor's help, borrowed a chainsaw, and my husband Bernard cut it down with a machete and had his help cutting down the mainish trunk, because it's the kind of tree it is, doesn't have a main trunk. It's like a branching tree, and they got rid of it. Through the following weeks, Bernard burned the remaining stump and then sledgehammered it away. So technically the stump and all the roots are still in the ground, but for the most part, we were able to cover it with our cardboard and compost so that we could plant into it. From there, we had to clear the land. So of course, we waited for the snow to melt. We were very, very lucky this year. The snow melted in March. Which last year was not the case. There was still snow on the ground even now. Today is April 22nd, and we still had snow on the ground this time last year. So we were really, really fortunate. The ground thawed quick enough, the snow melted quick enough so that we could get started, because we wanted to plant into this new area this season. We didn't want to wait. So we decided we wanted to use the Charles Dowding no-dig method. So there's a couple different ones. There's the Ruth Stout method, where you just use straw. Then there's the Back to Eden method, where you use wood chips. But in this method, Charles Dowding's method, you use compost. So cardboard over the lawn, or which may be weeds or grass, and then 4 to 6 inches of compost or finished manure on top of that. And that compost or manure will act as the mulch, as well as feed for soil or organisms like worms and microbes. So we decided, just nutritionally speaking, the compost method just made much more sense to us. So we created our beds with cardboard, then 4 to 6 inches of compost, and in our case we used manures from various different animals, and then wood chips from a local golf course that collects wood chips from the hydro company for our paths. Initially we got horse manure from a local stable, and we had a little bit remaining last year. So that's what we started to use to cover the cardboard. But then we ran out. This is just such a large space. But unfortunately, that source of manure from the local stable was no longer available, because that stable is located in a rural area, and they have a weight zone or a car weight limit on the roads in the spring. So with the wet ground and all that, the truck that we wanted to have go there and pick up the manure just wouldn't be allowed on that road until mid-May. But we needed to get this done by like yesterday. So we wanted to find another way of getting manure as soon as possible. So we ordered a truckload of sheep manure. That was so expensive and unfortunately not great, because it wasn't very well turned, and the brown material they use is straw, which takes a long time to break down. So there was quite a lot of chunky pieces. It was so hard to work with, and you'll see us dumping it here and just how much work we have to go through because of how chunky it is and how much of it is still not completely it's not hot, but it just isn't completely broken down. And that manure was very, very difficult to use at that stage of the project. We were already having so many issues finding enough cardboard to lay over the grass. Now, what I would do differently and what I advise you to do differently if you're doing such a large space and if you have time is actually to go the tarp route. We've done the tarp method for smaller beds, but we could have got a silage tarp, which is large enough to cover the space, but we just weren't sure if it would be suitable enough in like, it was just such a short amount of time that we needed to get the beds ready and then plant into. So we decided to go the cardboard method, which was painful because nearly every day we would go hunting for cardboard from big box stores and various places, and it just was not, it was not time efficient, but that was what we did to get it done. Then the sheep manure, that was a part that made me feel so discouraged, made me feel like, why are we doing this? Maybe there's no point. Why can't I just be content with a garden in my backyard and be happy with that? But we pushed through. We finished the sheep manure, it wasn't enough, and we prayed and found free horse manure from someone who didn't have a tractor and was happy with us taking as much as we needed because they just needed to get rid of it. All we had to do was just find a means of transportation. We were fortunate enough to find someone with a pickup truck on Facebook who was advertising just their pickup truck for odds and end loads. And so he did one load for us. But then after that, we needed more, but not that much more. So we collected as many totes and bins as possible, including our recycling bin and even buckets, went down to the lady who's local and collected as much compost manure as we could. And we did 2 trips like that. It took about an hour and a half to load, and it was very easy to unload. But we are done. We're done. It has been, I won't even pretend like it's been this easy, amazing journey of, you know, self-discovery. It was hard. It was painful. There were moments where I was like, this is pointless. Like I want to just stop. I'm tired. I have muscles aching in places that I didn't even know I had muscles. And I could not just wait. I just couldn't wait for this day. And it's here. What our plan is to grow cut flowers along the perimeters. So the edges of this entire corner of this corner bed, or these corner beds, I should say. And then in the middle will all be produce. So quite a large variety of produce. And the beds are not standardized in terms of length just because we were working at a really weird angle, but they are standardized in terms of width. So they're each about 3.5 to 4 feet wide, and that was just the best width for us, for our situation. And then our paths are just about 12 inches wide, which is pretty narrow. I may just fix that and make it a little bit wider because we are having issues in that other bed that you guys would have saw in the aerial view, where the paths are a little bit too narrow and it's really hard to maneuver with row covers and such. We also have a few things planted in the section that was completed about 3 weeks ago. We did this section by section, and I had my brassicas ready. They were getting really root bound, and so I planted them because there was ground ready. Even though the entire area wasn't completely ready, we had a couple beds that were ready. So that's what these are. It's getting late and cold, so I am going to end this video here. I'm so excited to share with you guys what's going to be happening, what we're going to be planting, how it all goes all throughout the season. If you enjoy what we're doing, or you're interested in knowing more about our little micro-urban flower and vegetable farm, subscribe to our channel below and like this video, share with your friends. This is such an interesting experience and really is so doable for so many people. I just want to show how we are getting it done, just 2 people with very little money. So I hope that you enjoyed watching this whole process, and we hope to see you in the next video. Have a good night, guys.